Hello everyone, this is G and I'm back with the second video of the night. So this is an article that I noticed earlier in the week but didn't get a chance to get to uh, until now. There was some sort of alert or something. I'm like, what is this? But anyway, I wanted to just briefly cover this because of Malcolm Lee's comments. My understanding, Malcolm Lee, who made the Space Jam 2 movie, which apparently is not being well received, right? He gave his opinion in a interview with Entertainment Weekly. This is IndieWire, so they kind of summarized it. But he did an interview with he and Zendaya, I should say, Malcolm and Zendaya. They did an interview about the Lola Bunny controversy in the film. So I'm gonna go over this IndieWire summary and sort of give my opinion on Malcolm's opinion and the overarching debate of what in today's world is the appropriate representation and depiction, presentation visually of a woman. Because there are two sides. There's one side that says that more or less you should leave original designs alone and that there's nothing wrong with a healthy bit of sex appeal. And then there's this other side which seeks to defeminize and desexualize every type of female character, regardless of what her characterization is. So let's go over this article and then I'll sort of give my opinion, as I often do. So, IndieWire says here Space Jam 2 director, making Lola Bunny less sexualized created super weird backlash. I had no idea that people would be that up in arms about a bunny not having boobs, said director Malcolm D. Lee. Malcolm, first of all, you're not an idiot. You know damn good and well that the debate over Lola's redesign has a lot more to do than with a female bunny, human-looking bunny, having breasts. But you should remember, Malcolm, that women do have breasts, and most women take great pride in their breasts. Maybe not everybody's like a triple D, but women do take pride in having in a chest. It is part of what makes us distinct from men, and we take pride in it. But anyway, continuing. Says here, Space Jam, a new legacy director, Malcolm D. Lee, right? Malcolm D. Lee and voice actress Zendaya. Does she have a last name? I should look up her last name, but I don't care. But anyway, told Entertainment Weekly in a new interview that they were surprised by the outrage over redesigning Lola Bunny in order to make the character appear less sexualized. Let's take a look at the original design more or less than the redesign. This is not hypersexualized. The original design from the 1990s was not hypersexed. It was, you could say, high femme, and that made her look very sexy, but it was not hypersexualized. You have no idea what hypersexualization is, right? It's a sexy version of a basketball uniform. You want to say a sexy design, that's fine. Highly sexualized, you've never seen Ivy from the Soul Calibur games, have you? But anyway, let's continue. Right? Lee confirmed the redesign in March, saying Lola's original look from the 1996 was not politically correct, like Betty Boop mixed with Jessica Rabbit. Oh! Okay. I need a picture of Jessica Rabbit now. I need. Okay. Okay. Okay, so here's some pictures of Jessica. I'm sorry, but I do not see. Oh, this thing is slowing down. What's going on? I do not see anywhere where this. Let me go back. Where this design with her in the white uniform looks anything close to Jessica frickin' Rabbit. Jessica Rabbit was a highly sexualized design. That was literally the point of the character. She's a femme fatale in the film. She was designed to be this over the top caricature of the male fantasy. That's what she was meant to be. It makes sense for her to be incredibly sexy. If you've and you'll know just how sexy she is if you've ever seen why don't you do right sequence, right, when she's singing in the jazz club, right? The song is sexy, she's sexy, everything she does with the men is sexy. That's the whole point. That's a sexualized character. A bunny woman in a two-piece that you might see at the beach is nowhere near as sexy or sexualized as this, right? Now again, you want to say it's high femme, you want to say it's sexy, that's fine, but sexualized? No. This is sexualized. This is sexy. There is a difference. Learn it, right? So he says here Lola Bunny was very sexualized. No, she wasn't, Lee said at the time. This is a kid's movie. Why is she in a crop top? It just felt unnecessary. Okay, she's not wearing anything that you wouldn't see at the beach. If anything, she's wearing more than what your typical child in the 1990s would have seen at a beach. And two, it was the 1990s. We didn't shy away from sex, or 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 it was edgy. Is what I'm trying to say here, right? It did not shy away. Plus, I think the original film was like PG-13, PG or PG-13, if I remember correctly. So you are gonna get a little bit of sexiness in a film with that rating. Hell, I think the same year, because he says 1996, so the same year Disney would release Hunchback of Notre Dame, right? Which featured Esmeralda as the lead. Esmeralda, the same one who does a very sultry dance, including her literally swinging on a pole. This was the 90s. We didn't shy away from these things and keep it from children, right? Believe me, I saw a lot worse at that age. 96, I would have been 11. I saw a lot worse back then. And it was perfectly fine and acceptable to air on TV. Alright, but let's continue. Right? But at the same time, there's a long history of that in cartoons. That's true. There's always been a long history of adult content being slipped into cartoons. That's what makes cartoons appealing to an older audience, your older teens or your adults, right? It's called fan service. It says here, news of Lola's desexualized, you mean defeminized, they're not the same, redesign created a super weird controversy, Lee said in the aftermath of the outrage. The filmmaker added, I had no idea that people would be that up in arms about a bunny not having boobs. Listen, I understand people don't want things to change, but I think we needed some evolution with her. Not by objectifying her, but by making her strong and still feminine. And yes, we had all these other women who were like, oh, you can't be strong and have big boobs? Sure you can. But we're talking about a cartoon bunny, not women. Well, here's the thing, Mr. Lee, and this is why I say again that I don't think for a second you're a dumb individual. So you're not an idiot, although you are trying to play the fool here, sir. This is not about the individual depiction of Lola Bunny or how it was changed. The bigger issue here, what's being discussed is what is the appropriate way to depict a woman? What is the proper and respectful visual presentation of a female in current year? Your side, Mr. Lee, is arguing that a female character must be desexualized or she must be defeminized because you are the ones who are immediately projecting and saying that if a character is sexualized in any way, if she is high femme in any way, right, that she is then being objectified, right? She's being treated as an object. She's being treated as a sex object. Well, you see, in the original film, right, Lola was the best tuned basketball player, right? The other boys, in particular Bugs Bunny, didn't recognize that because all they saw was the hot chick. They didn't see her talent. Her whole introductory scene is about her embarrassing them, in particular Bugs, for that. It's only Michael Jordan, the professional basketball player, who recognizes her talent right off the bat, right? She came in there and she proved that she was skilled and there was more to her than her appearance, right? Bugs tries to hit on her, calls her doll, so she embarrasses him, and then what does she tell him at the end? Don't call me doll, right? So, what's more empowering than that? Than coming into a room of people who've already decided who you are based on your appearance and then making a fool of them and teaching them and showing them that there is more to you than just the fact that you're attractive, that you're skilled as well, and that's what they should be concerned about because, after all, it was about basketball, not about her looks. But you and the side you're on with this want to argue that the audience, which mainly would have been little kids back then, was sexualizing her because she happened to be very high femme and attractive. Except that you didn't do anything to improve her design, sir. At least not in my opinion. Load, computer, load. Thank you. Because let's look at this. Yes, they gave her a more regulation uniform. That's fine. But outside of the fact that she's a rabbit, she doesn't stand out in any way visually to me. At least with the other one, because of the cut of the uniform, you were definitely going to notice her. And because, oh no, she has legs and she has hips and she has breasts. She actually has a full figured female body. Here, she's very slim and maybe has a little bit of hip, although it looks more like she's just cocking her her hip out to the side, so it may not even really be that she has hips, right? But in my opinion, if they wanted to move away from the sexy look and emphasize that she's an athlete, okay, okay. Why not then give her an athlete's body? Why not make her very tall? Why not give her incredibly muscular arms, as athletes have? Have you ever seen Candace Parker's arms? She is yolk. But you guys didn't do that. You didn't actually model her body off of that of a real WNBA player. You just decided to create a generic uniform and put it on a generic female rabbit and call her Lola Bunny. If there were other female rabbit characters in the film, this new take on Lola would get lost immediately. And that's how you know it's an ill thought out design. A character's design, especially when they're one of the main characters, needs to stand out. They should not be able to get lost in a crowd. She could easily get lost in a crowd if there was a room full of cartoon rabbit women. You wouldn't you wouldn't be able to point her out. Whereas with the original one, yeah, she would stand out. She would definitely stand out. But going back to it, come on, thank you. So he says the news of Lola's desexualized design created a super weird controversy, Lee said in the aftermath of the outrage. The filmmaker added, I had no idea that people would be that up in arms about. Oh, wait. Okay, I covered that. Sorry. I apologize. Let me move on. Come on. Scroll. There we go. Lee told Entertainment Weekly the goal to make Lola a more empowered character led to the voice casting of Zendaya, who is taking ownership of her image, her brand, her business. She's really the embodiment of Lola, to tell you the truth. That's the kind of projection of Lola we wanted to have. Oh, yes, because there were no female artists back in the 1990s who were taking control of their name and their brand and their image. It's not like we had girl groups like TLC or female artists like Janet Jackson who were taking control of their business, of their careers, of their image. But that's right, you can't admit to that, can you, Malcolm? Especially in the Janet one, because Janet completely changed over. She went from songs in the 80s like "Let's Wait a While" to songs like "If." And if you've ever heard "If," it's one of the filthiest tracks she ever wrote. Right? That's the thing. Here's the thing, Malcolm, that you should understand about women, in case you don't know. I think you already know, but just in case you don't know. A lot of women feel empowered by their sexuality, especially if they grew up in a situation where their sexuality or their femininity was oppressed in some fashion. For example, a lot of women, not all, but a lot of women who grow up in extremely strict religious households of any faith, right? When they finally get free of that, right? They move out on their own, they go to college, whatever it is. They typically act out by taking ownership of their sexuality and usually going completely over the top with it, right? And becoming hypersexualized because they finally have that freedom. They see it as empowering. Now, whether you agree with that on an individual basis is up to you, but it's something that happens a lot. Another place it happens in is Hollywood. A lot of female artists who start out as these, squeaky clean, kid-friendly types. You think of Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears, Janet Jackson, as I just listed, Hilary Duff, Miley Cyrus, and many others. And what do? They usually reach about 18, 19, and then they're so desperate to shed the good girl image, which usually kept any sort of sexuality very tame and under wraps, and they uh, in a way empower themselves by breaking those chains and going, no, I am a sexual being. I am a woman. I am feminine. I am beautiful. I am taking control of my image. And that's usually one of the ways that they do it. And then as they get older, they begin to tone it down because they've gone from one extreme to the other, then they try to find a middle ground. But for many women, their sexuality and coming into their own sexuality and femininity is empowering. So who are you, a man in this case, to say that a woman's sexuality is not empowering, or that you were empowering her by actually toning her down? That's not how this works, Malcolm. It's not how it works. So it says here after that, I didn't know that was going to happen either. Zendaya said about the hoopla over Lola's new look. I definitely know we love her, but I didn't know it was going to be as much of a focus as it was. But I understand because she's a lovable character, she's very important, so I get it. Smart for Zendaya to pretty much beg off as much as she can and not upset people. Zendaya continued, she's special to a lot of people in their childhoods and they've been able to grow up with her. So I get that sense of protection. I was like, listen, just as long as I did what the director and the producers and everybody wanted me to do, I'm just here to offer my services. No, but I felt really grateful to have the opportunity. Space Jam: A New Legacy opens July 16th. And it has not, as I said earlier, it has not been well received, right? Now here's the thing. As I said earlier, right? Whether or not you like Lola's new design or her old design better is a matter of personal opinion. And while you're certainly entitled to your opinion, your personal opinion, at least in my opinion, is sort of a moot point at this point, right? Because this debate is bigger, it's greater, it's larger than what your personal preference is. If I had to choose, I lean toward OG Lola because at least her design stands out. This redesign, in my opinion, does not stand out, especially since, and I'll admit it, my personal preference, she has no muscles. I grew up watching pro wrestling and athletes. I am accustomed to women with muscles. Why are you shying away from giving her muscles? But anyway, as I said earlier, what this is really about, what this is really about is how to depict women in media. What is the appropriate way? What is the respectful way? Because there's this battle of the sexes going on. Because you have the Twitterati who argue that men only draw women as these hypersexed images. They only see women as strippers. They only see women as tools for sexual pleasure. And then you have, and then on the other side of that, there's the argument of men draw women sexy bad because they view women as sex objects, and other women, right, female artists will draw women, right, so same sex, right, women drawing women, will draw women in a respectful manner, right, and not emphasize sexuality or in this case boobs. I literally saw a meme floating around on Twitter. It was a picture of someone's TikTok video. It was talking about how female mangaka don't sexualize their characters, and I'm just like, you didn't read Full Metal Alchemist, did you? Because because the designs of Lust and Azumi right there would disprove that one. In fact, let me see if I can pull those designs up. Come on, computer. Actually, I want to keep that. Come on, Jessica. So let's look up. Let's see, Azumi Curtis. As you can see here, Azumi's bust is certainly on display. She's not hiding it in any fashion. In fact, she has a blue tattoo right on her collarbone, which is going to draw your eye right to her chest. And then if we get a look at Lust from the same series, come on. We can see right here, right? Lust is, of course, her Ouroboros tattoo because she's a homunculus is right in her upper chest, and then of course with the long black dress that she's wearing, the chest is emphasized. What's interesting about these designs is the fact that Arakawa, as she was writing Full Metal Alchemist and it started getting attention and she was getting interviews, she was asked about her female designs and why she drew women in a certain way. Well, because her female characters, especially when you compare them to other works in Japanese manga that feature a lot of women, her female characters are a bit fuller figured, I guess you could say. Not heavy set, really, unless she intentionally draws them that way. But they're not very skinny. And she said that it was because she found that type of design empowering because she grew up on a dairy farm in Hokkaido. So she learned very early that if you don't work, you don't eat. So for her, someone being skinny means they're being underfed. And she didn't want people to think that her characters, in particular her female characters, were being underfed. So she drew them in a very healthy manner. And she even talked about how she actually had to fight with her, I think it was her editor, how she had to fight with her editor to actually keep Lust design as it was, because the editor, who was a guy, I think, was concerned about the size of her chest. And keep in mind, this would have been in like the early 2000s, because FMA ran for like around 9-10 years, and then she went on to do Silver Spoon, And that ran for 10 years and only ended a year or two ago. So this would have been in the early 2000s. And yet she was having an editor tell her that she needed to tone down this design, right? And she fought back and she said no. She said, we have to keep the boobs. And that's the thing. Women do find this empowering. Not every single woman, I want to be clear, not every single woman's into showing skin. Not every single, even those who do like to show skin don't necessarily want to show skin all the time, right? For example, many women may not mind dressing sexy for their husband or their boyfriend, but they don't want to do that, all the time. That's okay. That's okay. That's fine. Everybody's an individual. Dress how you like. But to argue that you're somehow empowering Lola Bunny by taking away something that many women feel is empowering, which is their femininity, and by, I guess, extension, their sexuality. You're actually desexing them and claiming that's empowering when many women would actually claim that's the opposite. Because you, a man, think that you know best for what women want and how women want to be seen and depicted in media. You, a man, get to decide what a female bunny looks like. And you, a man, Mr. Lee, Mr. Malcolm Lee, get to dismiss women's opinions when they tell you different. And if you don't believe me that he dismissed them, or dismissed women who were disagreeing with him, he says right here, right? And yes, and yes, we had all these other women who were like, oh, you can't be strong and have big boobs. Sure you can, but we're talking about a cartoon bunny, not women. So he's being dismissive. He's being dismissive of the women who disagreed with him on this. He's being dismissive of me because I certainly don't agree with him on this. Let's be honest here. Space Jam 2 is a film no one asked for. Lola Bunny redesign is something no one asked for. And now it's flopping because, again, no one asked for it and it's turning out to be not a great film. Instead of admitting that you were wrong, you want to instead be dismissive and act as if you don't understand why this happened. You know exactly why this happened, Malcolm. You're not a fool. You may like to play the fool, but you're not a fool. Hopefully, you'll learn from this, and maybe next time you should get a woman's opinion about how a woman should be depicted in media. But anyway, that's the video. Please let me know what you think, and I will see you on the next one. Have a good day or night wherever you are. Bye.